Welcome to In Pursuit 360, and today we are going to start our series on preparing for the Police Academy or making it through the Police Academy. And I'm gonna give you some thoughts and ideas, maybe some techniques or different things that you can do to help you make it through the different parts of the Police Academy. And yeah, so that's it. So let's get going on this Police Academy playlist. All right, here we go. All right, welcome again to In Pursuit 360, and today we're starting our Police Academy playlist for things to consider, think about, things that might help you get through the academy once you're hired. And hey, if it's time for you to go through the academy, let me just say congratulations and way to go. You've made it. All right, so it's time to get ready to go to the academy. So what do you need? Well, it depends on what academy you're going to. There are different types of academies. As an example, I went to a regional academy. A bunch of law enforcement agencies within a region all sat on the board for this regional academy, and it was a very, very, very generic law enforcement academy that taught some basics. Basics about, Virginia law, Virginia traffic law, Virginia criminal law. How do you apply that? The history of law enforcement. Basic ideas for patrol techniques, how to do a DUI investigation, report writing, very generic topics, defensive tactics, handcuffing, shooting, baton, right? And so it covered very generically the things that are involved in law enforcement. And then when I got to the department, then I got with an FTO and the other trainers at the sheriff's office, and they went into very detailed training about how it was done there at the sheriff's office. So that's always another, that kind of adds on to what you've already learned. Then there are other counties or jurisdictions that have their own police academy, and they're the only ones that go. So if they have their own police academy, then you're learning their stuff right from the get-go. So not only are you learning the generic topics, but you're learning the generic topics specified to that agency based on their policies, right? So as an example, we learned in Virginia code in the regional academy about pursuits, right, or emergency driving. So emergency driving said you had to use due regard for the motoring public. And the only way to go through a red light is you had to come to a stop. You had to make sure that there was nobody else in the intersection, and then you could proceed through safely as long as you were running your lights and siren, so on and so forth, right? Whereas a academy that's specific to an agency, not only are they going to tell you what the state law says or the city law, but they're also going to tell you what the agency or department's policy is on that. So as an example, we were told about emergency driving by state law in the academy. When I got to my department, the sheriff's office, then I learned about what was their policy on responding code. What kind of calls could I turn on my lights and siren for? And then how did they want me to negotiate the intersections, which is pretty much right along with state law. And then what was their pursuit policy? We were allowed to pursue. One county north of us, they weren't allowed to pursue. They had a no pursuit policy. But that became more defined when I got to the sheriff's office as opposed to in the academy. The academy taught us how to operate the vehicle at a high rate of speed, how to go in and out of curves, and all that good stuff. But as far as a pursuit policy goes, they just told us what state law said, right? And then they go over the U.S. Constitution. There are certain amendments within the Constitution that you need to know. But then when you get to your department is when they really sit there and tell you agency-specific type stuff. So if you go to academy that is just for that agency, they're going to hit it while you're in there, okay? And then those can both be, those are ones where you go and you go home every night, right? You go home every night. You go to a regional academy, you're going home every night. Some of the local academies where they have their own, they may require you to stay Monday through Friday. They may require you to just stay there and you only get leave so many times. It just kind of depends on where they're at and how they work it. A lot of the state police academies, though, you live there. They have a barracks they put you into. And I'm not sure, it depends on what state, depends on how often you get to leave and go home. But if you think about it, there's one state police academy for the entire state, whatever state you're at, that I know of. Virginia only has one, or only had one. And you went and stayed. There was no, I mean, you could go home. You got chances to go home, but you lived there. You were in the barracks. And so that Monday through Friday, you belonged to the state police, and you were studying and working out and doing all that good stuff. So yeah, it depends. Be prepared to understand what academy it is that you're going into. Is it a regional academy where we get to go home every day? Is it a department-specific academy where you're really going to have to buckle down and understand what the department's policies and stuff are to include on top of what your state or city code is? And is it like a state police academy where you're going to go and you have to live in a barracks? A lot of people have been trying to get into law enforcement for a while. So, some of y'all already have families. What is that going to do to your family? What's it going to do to your family if you go off to an academy? Oh, and I didn't even talk about the federal, right? I didn't even talk about federal law enforcement. FBI, if you're going to be an FBI agent, they got their own academy. If you're going to be uniform police for the federal law enforcement, you're going to go to the FLETC, right? So it's the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. They've got a branch in Brunswick, Georgia. They've got another one in Artesia, New Mexico. They've got another one in Charleston, South Carolina, and then they have another one in Cheltenham, Maryland. The main ones that they run their Uniform Police Training Program, UPTP, is Georgia, down in Brunswick, and also in I think Artesia is another big one that runs UPTP classes. But anyway, you live there too. You have to live on the base. You are free to go on the weekends. You're free in the evening time. Your agency may decide to run some extra PT or something like that early in the morning or later in the afternoon when classes are done, but that's agency specific. But most of the uniform federal law enforcement officers go through there. I think the VA has its own, the VA Police Veterans Affairs. They have their own kind of like a mini academy. It's not quite as long as the FLETC Academy, but they have one. I can't remember where they go for that one. So yeah, there are different kinds of academies out there. So I guess the first most important thing is figure out what kind of academy it is that you're going to. Where are you going to end up? How often do you have to stay there? Are you learning just generic law enforcement stuff, or are you learning the generic law enforcement plus the agency specific? So if the agency runs its own academy, they're going to be very specific in what they teach you. So my thing is in your first step in getting ready to go to the academy, know what kind of academy you're going to. See if you can talk to some of the officers that are at the agency you're going to and ask them, hey, what's the academy like? What do I need to know? What do I need to bring? Are there anything specific I need to bring with me when I go? How about the first day? What do I do? I'm going to tell you, if they don't issue you a uniform, the dress for most of these academies is going to be at least business casual. A lot of them will have uniforms. Even the regional academy I went to, when I went through, we just wore business casual clothing. But now I think they actually issue uniforms. So they're like the 511 tactical pants with polo shirts is what they wear on the day-to-day. And then PT gear. You got to have your PT gear. They will PT you. A lot of these agencies or a lot of these academies, they've already been into PT, but even some of the smaller regional ones now are getting even more into that, where they're it's calisthenics and obstacle courses and things like that. And it's really about improving the health of the officers on the street. Improved health helps with a lot of different things, so that's something that the academies are big on now too. So be prepared to make sure you have all the gear that you need for that. So again, talking to some of the officers for the agency that you're going to work for, they're going to be able to give you some advice on things to expect in your first day or two. I can sit here and try to act like I can tell you exactly what it's going to be like on day 1 and 2, but every academy is different. Every academy is different, right? Just like, you join the military. Air Force, first day in the Air Force for basic training is a lot different than the first day in the Marine Corps for basic training. They're both the military, but they're both different. And no making fun of the Air Force, because I was in the Air Force. And yeah, it was different. I admit it. I like, air conditioning and big screen TVs and stuff. So that's what I did. So anyway, yeah, go ahead and ask. So yeah, that's it. That's the video 1 is basically just kind of figure out what kind of academy it is that you're going to, because that'll help you prepare right there just by itself. And yeah, that's it. So hey, do me a favor, go ahead, subscribe down below. I'll keep going on this Academy series. Get it out there for anybody that's getting ready to go on board, or anybody that's still just trying and you just want to try to get a foot up and you want to try to get ahead. So yeah, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. You'll know when the next video is coming out. Thumbs up, thumbs down. If you have to, just let me know why. Give me some ideas for improvement. Anything else that you want to hear about, go ahead and leave it in the comment section down below. And there is that super supporter thing down there somewhere. You want to help me out, like improve my camera equipment, you know, things like that, or just show appreciation. I'm more than happy to, you know, I'll take a few bucks here and there. I am trying to get it to the point where I can spend a lot more time doing this and less time actually going to work. So we'll see what happens. All right. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. And as always, be safe out there.